Right, so I've managed to take the hydraulic cylinders out, as you can see here, which look to be in bad shape down here, but the important part is the seals are fine and the actual shafts have no pitting or rust. So we're going to take all the ends off, I'm going to clean them all up, hopefully put new lines on and redo down there. But basically the hydraulic cylinder works from this, which is like the reservoir and pump. Down here you have a reservoir, and here you have a two-way switch, which is normally connected to the switch in the front of the car, in the next to the gear shift. Now, there's a way of testing to see if this still works, which I've already done. That's to take a 12-volt battery and then test the polarities. So, negative on one side, positive on the other. Right, so that's now fully open. So these will now be fully extended. Now the switch basically just switches which way the voltage passes through the wires. So if I switch these wires around like I've done, connect that one to the earth, that to the live, you'll now see that the struts will disappear in. But the struts do need bleeding and the reservoir needs cleaning out, so I might take the reservoir off, clean it out, drain all the old fluid out, and then put some clean fluid in. But yeah, so that's an easy way of testing to see if it still works. But I think I've just blown them up now. And wait. So now to get up to extend. I don't recommend you do this. I recommend you connect it to the switch properly and earth it out through the fuse. So right now the only thing stopping this from melting my fingers is praying the 12-volt system works. So that's where we're going to leave it. But basically all I've done is took some of the little spade end connector pieces, or whatever you want to call these little crimp connectors, put one inside of a shrink tube so that it doesn't arc out, and the other one I probably should have done. And you connect that into the back there on the two prongs. And the two wires just connect to the battery. And you just switch them around to get whichever way it wants to extend the struts. But yeah, I'm mega happy that the seals haven't blown, so that actually saves a job. So sadly I won't be making a video on dismantling these. But these are crimped together, so they're not a screw type like I thought they were. They're actually crimped, so to save my ass, luckily the seals haven't blown. But we're still going to tidy them up and remove all the rust from them, and keep an eye on the seals. Make sure there's no crack around the seals, so that when the struts come up and down, which is why I had a microfiber and went round them all, cleaned them all up, and then we're just going to mask it all off nicely and probably paint them up black, which isn't original, I know, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, hopefully that shows you how to roughly test if your cylinders are working and your pump's working. Another thing I forgot to mention when I was showing you how these work is actually how the hydraulic cylinders work. So basically you have two sides of the line. So you have this side, which is for the top feed, and this side for the bottom feed. And that, so what will happen is as this opens and closes, so you'll pump fluid through one line to the top, which will then force on this side of the piston. So there's like a little piston in here that will then move up and down depending on which side the fluid flows. So if the fluid flows from the top here, so if the fluid and the pressure is coming through this side, cylinder will go down, and if the fluid then gets pushed through this side, which is what the motor will do, which changes which side in there is going to flow the hydraulic fluid, which will then push up. Now a hydraulic cylinder will always have more pressure pushing upwards because it has this shaft, which then takes up space inside of here, whereas you'll have maximum space down here and less space up here on this side, because you've got the actual shaft and the piston is slightly, it's the same size as the shaft here, but because of this shaft you'll have less room inside, which means it will have less force being able to push it down. Although these cylinders are still really strong in hydraulic action. Well, strong enough to push the roof up and down anyway. That's pretty much how like hydraulic car's system works, so like hydraulic suspension and anything else, most cylinders will work like that, even on tractors and heavy vehicles. And then they'll just work off a pump and a reservoir, and normally a 2 or 3-way switch. So basically all that happens is there's a tiny little motor in there which will have a stator winding around it and magnets either side. Whichever way you put the voltage through will change the direction that the motor spins. So if you change over the positive and negative on the battery, which I did, which is what allows the motor to run backwards to then pull the cylinders down, or then run forwards to push the cylinders up. Before doing what I just did with the battery, it's best to find out what voltage your system's running on. You don't want to put too many volts through or too many amps through that system, otherwise you could damage the motor and the wiring to the motor. So luckily for me, I know that's a 12-volt pump, so I got lucky with just using a battery to test it. Most car ones will operate on 12 volts or like your light voltage, but yeah. So if you are having issues with your 205, some people, as I found out, will wire them straight from the battery, a bit like how you would a sub, and then put a inline fuse in, and then they'll run that straight to the pump itself, and then run it into the car, through the firewall, into the switch panel, and from the switch panel back to the pump. So they go from battery to switch, switch to pump, and that way they don't have to worry about the earth issue that some of the 205s do have. But for me anyway, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, because I'm going to rewire the whole car and then re-earth everything, and possibly add an extra earth in for the pump, which I'll show you guys later when I get to that stage.